So what makes you so special? Psalm 87. What makes you so special? Man, that's a nasty thing to say. You mostly hear it on playgrounds. Occasionally adults whip it at you in an especially insecure moment. So what's the first response that pops into your mind? For me, it's nothing. I'm not trying to... Maybe instead of defending yourself, you launch an attack of your own. Well, the fact that I'm better than you... For an ancient Israelite, it was all about tribe, clan, and ancestors. The more important your relatives or ancestors, the more special your place in the social pecking order. Now check out this conversation from an excavated piece of papyrus. Scholars speculate that it's an ancient story about a couple of Jewish kids at Shiloh for the Feast of Purim in 1643 BC during Eli's reign as high priest. My father's the chief of the Shalites, one of the first 5 families in Simeon. Oh yeah? Well, I'm a Levite. I'm going to be a priest. A donkey priest? Shut up! You carry everything on your shoulders. Better than not carrying anything. Donkey. Quit it, donkey. You come from Korah. The papyrus cuts off at that point. I'm guessing that's where they started throwing down. You're aware that I made that whole thing up so that you could imagine the scene, right? Okay, cool. Sitting in your living room, you read Korah and think, what's so bad about Korah? If you've read this part of the Bible, you probably whizzed right past of the sons of Korah at the beginning of Psalm 87. If you actually stop to consider it, you might think, sons of Korah, guess they were some important guys. Very few of us think rebel, cursed, snuffed out by God. The ground opened up and swallowed him, his household, his possessions, and everything that belonged to him. How'd any of his sons become priests and leaders of temple worship? Even fewer of us know the answer. Now somehow, despite Korah's journey to the center of the earth, some of his descendants survived. They were still part of the tribe of Levi, and Moses assigned them to priestly duty. They got to carry all the holy pieces of the tabernacle on their shoulders as they trudged through the desert. Thanks, Moses. All the other priestly servants got to load theirs in carts. Worse, they carried the stigma of Korah's rebellion and death. It must have sucked to be one of the sons of Korah until David. See, King David didn't just take the Ark of the Covenant back to Israel and prepare to build the temple. He created a whole new format of temple worship. He created full-time jobs for priests and doorkeepers, caretakers, musicians, singers. Guess who the singers were? Yep. 25 of the Psalms are attributed to them. It says in 1 Chronicles 9:33 that they were free from other service, for they were engaged in their work day and night. All day long they sang, worshipped, and wrote songs. Sounds like a sweet gig to me. The sons of Korah begin this song, Psalm 87, with, "His foundation is in the holy mountains." In commentaries, they mention that Jerusalem sits on the top of a number of mountains, and so this references Jerusalem. As a writer, even if I was talking about Jerusalem, I want to get you thinking about God's cosmic home, the holy mountains where the gods, but in this case, the God, lives. Imagine Mount Olympus from Greek mythology or something similar. God starts building his home there. But then, verse 2 says that Yahweh loves the gates of Zion more than any other place Jacob lives in. Gates didn't just include the doors, but all the walls and everything enclosed by Zion. And Zion is the same Hebrew word as the one translated landmark. With a slight change in pronunciation, it made, and to this day makes, every Jew think of the mountain where the temple, God's home, is built. Jacob was another way for them to say Israel, only it carried with it the idea of Jacob stealing his brother's birthright. So, consider verses 1 and 2 as a way to say that God started building his home in the cosmic mountains and then finished it on the physical mountain of Zion. It implies that this song is about birthrights. God chose Zion over all the other imperfect places in Israel. Magical, wondrous things get talked about when people mention the city where God himself actually lives, verse 3 sums up before the first section ends. As the music plays during the interlude, your brain starts thinking how amazing it is that the one and only God chose a place in Israel to live. Man, it must be cool to be in the holy city itself. The symphony of notes makes you feel rich and majestic. Harmonies and solos merge with the instruments, and then a different sound begins the second section. Now they start singing different names of countries and cities. Rahab, Babylon, Philistia, Tyre, Ethiopia, or Cush. You and me have no clue the images and history these names would paint in their minds unless we dig a little. Now you might remember Rahab, the prostitute who hid Joshua's spies in Jericho and saved herself, and that's a totally different Rahab. This one's used in a couple of different psalms. It's the term for the mythical sea monster that God defeated to bring order to the earth and create dry land. It's also a poetic way to reference Egypt, the mighty crocodile of the Nile River that God defeated to make Israel a nation. They had a god for just about everything. Their culture swarmed with adultery, sexual promiscuity, and STDs. In fact, one of God's promises to Israel when they left Egypt was that he wouldn't bring any of the diseases of the Egyptians upon them if they followed him. All the symptoms mentioned correspond perfectly to crabs, herpes, etc. Babylon isn't talking about Nebuchadnezzar and his empire because it probably wasn't Israel's primary threat when this was written. Here, it calls to mind Ur in the city that Abraham left to follow God. Ur at that time celebrated the god Marduk, head of the Babylonian pantheon. Every home had additional family gods, plus it was the original sin city of the ancient world. Now you put Rahab and Babylon together, and people go, that's the beginning of your ancestry? You're not so holy. The sons of Korah are singing, you think we were born in Babylon and Egypt. Then they follow it up by singing, hey Philistia, Tyre, Ethiopia, all you countries around us who think you're better than us and want to make us your servants, look at me. I was born in Zion, the place the only God that matters decided to make his home. And when people talk about Zion, they'll say, this person and that person were born there. They're part of God's family. And the supreme being of the universe is going to make sure that they're his children forever. Yahweh himself is going to take roll of every person in the earth and say, this one, that one, this one here was born in my house. They get all the honor that belongs to me. The music and singing begin washing over you again. This time, it's regal and majestic mixed with sweet and soothing. You can feel your heart tugging you with God's tenderness. He's named you his own personal son, his own treasured daughter. Nobody can take that from you. It's the same thing that happened to these sons of rebellion who turn into singers that spend all their time in the residence of the God who orders the universe. When they start singing again, it's just voices and flutes. It starts out tender and lovely. All the life and beauty that springs from me comes from you. The music plays a little more and they sing it again. This time you hear, all my life comes from the river that flows out from your temple. The music rises a bit more and they sing it again. Now you tap into your own ecstasy of emotion. I'm connected. We're connected to the center of God's heart. He's chosen me. He's chosen us. We flow with him. Our beauty comes from him. He makes us beautiful. He turns the worst stories into honor and glory. We're the treasured children of God. I'm the special child of Almighty God. Who knows how long it's been as the music finally stops. You walk out with the song still dancing in your thoughts. Your face shines with so much joy, so much that you run into a big dude carrying a bunch of firewood. Hey, what makes you so special that you think you own the whole road? Sorry, you say with a smile. But you can't stop the music repeating in your head. You're born in Zion. You were born in Zion. You were born in Zion.